So the monitoring overhead alone is eating all your herdr automatically detects the agent state. Through the socket API, Claude Code can split for a single pull request. They run.
Ugh, come on. It's touching the same file again. Codex is overriding the changes Claude Code just wrote.
Sherry, how many terminals do you even have open?
Let's see, 2 Claude Code, 1 Codex, and then Gemini CLI 2. I ran all of them in the same repo, and Git turned into a total mess.
Oh, that's the classic collision problem. One agent reads an incomplete diff that the other one just wrote.
That's part of it, but also I have no idea which terminal is stuck right now. Just eyeballing 4 windows wears me out on its own.
So the monitoring overhead alone is eating all your productivity. There are actually tools coming out now that solve exactly that.
Something that convenient exists.
It's a category called Agent Multiplexer. Like tmux bundles shells together. These bundle AI agents together and make their state visible. Today I want to show you the flagship one. It's called herdr.
What's actually different from just lining things up in tmux? If it's just splitting panes and running multiple agents, tmux can already do that, right?
Yeah, it looks similar on the surface, but there's a fundamental difference. tmux is a tool that bundles shells. herdr is a tool that bundles agents.
Shells agents, they both just run in a terminal, though.
herdr automatically detects the agent state. States like idle, working, blocked, and done.
So you can tell whether it's stuck or still working just by looking.
Exactly. All your agents line up in the sidebar, and the status updates in real time. It also solves that I can't tell which one's stuck problem you were just talking about, Sherry.
How does it figure out the state of something like Claude Code or Codex?
It watches the tail of the screen buffer. Each agent has its own detection rules. Like if this string shows up, it's idle.
How many agents does it actually support?
It can recognize 19 different agents, including Claude, Codex, Gemini, and Droid.
Okay, 19 agents is a lot, but what does the screen actually look like?
When you launch herdr, a sidebar shows up on the left side of the screen. Every agent that's currently running gets listed there. Next to each agent, its status, working, blocked, whatever. Updates in real time.
Blocked means it's stuck waiting for user input, or something like that.
Right, stuck on a confirmation dialog, or blocked by an error, it can't get past. With tmux, you'd have to scan every single pane, just to find out which one's stuck, right?
That's exactly what I was doing earlier.
With herdr, one glance at the sidebar tells you where you need to pay attention right now. You're running 5 agents, 3 are blocked, 2 are working. You can tell at a glance.
Not having to burn brainpower on monitoring is a bigger deal than it sounds.
You no longer have to manually track how many of the jobs you kicked off are stuck. I think that's the biggest value an agent multiplexer brings.
There are times you kick off a long task and want to step away for a while. Closing the terminal kills everything, and lugging a laptop around is a pain.
With herdr, the agents keep running in the background even after you detach. Ctrl+B, Q to detach. Then just type herdr from another terminal later to reconnect.
That sounds a lot like detaching in tmux.
And on top of that, your session survives even across a server restart.
That's something tmux doesn't have.
You can also connect remotely over SSH, so you can check in from outside, kick off a heavy refactor, head out, come home, SSH in, and check the results. That kind of workflow worked.
I like that the agents just keep working on their own while I go do something else. Is herdr just a tool for humans to operate?
That's the thing. The agent itself can operate herdr.
An agent operating it?
Through the socket API, Claude Code can split off another pane and call up a different agent in it.
So the main agent hands off work to a sub-agent.
Right? Let me walk through the actual flow. First, herdr pane split creates a new pane right next to yours. Then herdr pane run launches something like Codex in that pane and sends it a task. Finally, herdr wait agent status waits for it to finish and collects the result.
So 3 steps, and you can delegate to a whole other agent.
This workflow is written down in a file called skill.md, and Claude Code can read it and execute it.
How is this different from Claude's official agent teams?
Agent teams is an SDK-level mechanism for organizing subagents. Herdr works at the terminal UI level, splitting panes and running separate processes. Different layers so they're not competing. They complement each other.
So you can even have Claude Code call out to Codex, coordinating across different agents.
Yeah, you can hand review off to Codex and do the implementation yourself. That kind of division of labor, driven by the agents themselves.
Okay, I get that agents can work together, but how do you actually use that?
The setup they show in the official demo video makes it really clear. For a single pull request, they run 3 agents at once to review it.
3? What do they each handle?
Security gets covered by Droid and Codex, and performance gets covered by Claude. Each agent gets assigned a perspective, and they all run at the same time.
So it's like calling in 3 experts to look at the code at once.
In the demo, there were 3 lanes lined up, labeled Security Droid, Security, Codex, and Perf Claude. You can name each pane, so you never lose track of which lane covers which angle.
That's way faster than asking for 3 reviews one after another.
And since you can have multiple workspaces too, you can even keep an eye on agents from a completely different project at the same time.
So it's like one person running several teams at once.
Exactly. All the human has to decide is who gets assigned what. After that, herdr visualizes the progress for you, so you just check things off as they finish.
Is there a way to actually solve that file collision problem you mentioned earlier, at the root?
There is. You use a command called herdr worktree. With git worktree, you can separate the working directory for each branch.
So it's the same repo, but you're physically working in different folders.
Right? The agent on branch A and the agent on branch B run in completely separate locations, so there's no accident where they end up overwriting each other's changes mid-work.
That's incredibly useful when you want to run multiple experiments at the same time.
You can run a UI overhaul on feature A and an API change on feature B, side by side.
Is this a herdr original idea?
Another tool called claude-squad takes the same approach. The design philosophy is one task, one worktree, one branch.
So worktree isolation is the right answer if you want to safely run multiple agents in parallel. I want to try herdr out. Is the install a hassle?
Nope, you just run the install script with curl. If you've got homebrew, brew install herdr works too.
It's written in Rust, so is it a single binary?
Yeah, no electron dependency. It's lightweight. To launch it, you just type herdr in the terminal. If there's already a session running, it automatically attaches to it.
So recovering from that detach you mentioned earlier is the same command too.
The control prefix is Control plus B. So if you've used tmux before, it should feel familiar.
The barrier to getting started is lower than I expected. You mentioned claude-squad earlier. How's that different from herdr? They're both tools for managing multiple agents, right?
The goal is similar, but the approach is completely different. Claude-squad is written in Go, and it's a thin wrapper around tmux and git worktree. It won't run without tmux installed, and its main focus is standardizing worktree workflows.
That's the one task, one worktree, one branch thing you mentioned earlier.
Herdr is written in Rust, and it implements the multiplexer itself from scratch. It doesn't depend on tmux, and it's aiming to be a runtime that even handles agent state detection.
By runtime, you mean a foundation that holds state and keeps running?
Exactly. Agents can control it themselves through the socket API, and it auto-detects 19 kinds of agents. claude-squad is simple and focused on worktree management, while herdr is a heavier design packed with features.
So it's like claude-squad for people already deep into tmux, and herdr for people who want everything included.
By the way, both are AGPL licensed, so they share the same source disclosure obligation.
The split makes it easy to pick the right one. Can you use herdr on Windows too?
You can, but it's still considered beta. Seems like bug fixes around PowerShell are still ongoing.
So Linux or Mac OS if you want stability?
Let me touch on the license too. herdr is AGPL licensed.
AGPL? That's the one with the source disclosure requirement, right?
Right? If you release a service that embeds herdr, you're required to publish the source code.
What if you just use it as an internal tool?
If you're not exposing it externally, it's basically fine. But it's safer to check with legal. If you need a commercial license, reach out to hey@herdr.dev.
herdr has so many features, I don't even know where to start.
My recommendation is to start by running 2 agents side by side. Launch herdr, split into 2 panes, and put Claude Code and Codex next to each other. Just throw the same task at both, and watch the status indicators in the sidebar.
So you get to feel what it's like not having to eyeball which one's working and which one's blocked.
Right? Once you see how convenient that is, try out the worktree integration next. If you split the working directory by branch, you don't have to worry about agents stepping on each other.
What about the thing where agents call other agents?
That's the advanced stuff. It's fine to save that for after you're used to running things side by side. And if you're already deep into tmux, starting with claude-squad works too.
The era of one person handling multiple agents is really here.
herdr comes from herdr, like someone tending a flock. Start by herding just 2 sheep.